I grew up in a house where silence was louder than any shouting. My name is Evelyn Carter, and if you were to walk into my family's home when I was a teenager, you'd think everything was picture perfect. White picket fence, freshly mowed lawn, a mother who hosted church luncheons, and a father who looked respectable in his pressed shirts. But what people didn't see what I lived through every single day was the quiet dismissal, the subtle digs, and the way my own dreams were treated like nothing more than foolish fantasies. I was the middle child of three. My older brother, Daniel, was the golden boy, captain of the basketball team, tall and broad-shouldered, with the kind of smile that made my mother beam with pride. My younger sister, Lila, was delicate, petite, and effortlessly charming, the sort of girl teachers adored and relatives compared me to every holiday. Then there was me. I wasn't athletic, I wasn't dainty, and I certainly wasn't shining in the way my family measured success. What I had was an unshakable love for writing. Since I was 10, I would fill notebooks with short stories, poems, and entire worlds that I built in my imagination. I wrote late at night with a flashlight under the covers, scribbling furiously like I was chasing a truth no one else could see. Writing was my escape, my rebellion, and my salvation. But to my mother, writing was a waste of time. "You need to focus on something practical," she would say while folding laundry in the kitchen, her tone dismissive. "Stories won't pay the bills, Evelyn. Why can't you be more like your brother or sister?" Every word was a pinprick, but after years of repetition, it started to feel like my entire skin was covered in bruises. My father wasn't much better. He rarely raised his voice, but his silence was a verdict all its own. Whenever my mother criticized me, he would just sip his coffee, flip through the newspaper, and say nothing. To me, his silence meant agreement. And then there was Daniel, who never missed a chance to make me feel smaller. Writing, he'd scoff, tossing a basketball between his hands. "Come on, Evie, you're not going to make a living scribbling fairy tales. Get real." Lila, sweet as she looked, had her own way of twisting the knife. She'd offer fake sympathy, wide-eyed and soft-voiced, "Oh, Evelyn, maybe you can write in your free time, like a hobby. That way you won't be disappointed when nobody buys your books." The worst part? My mother always agreed with them. "Your siblings are just trying to help you," she'd say, reinforcing their cruelty with her approval. But what they didn't know, what I kept hidden deep inside, was that I had a plan. I was determined to prove them wrong. By the time I was a senior in high school, I had written essays, stories, and even entered competitions under pseudonyms. Late at night, when everyone else was asleep, I would research scholarships and contests, my fingers trembling with both fear and hope. One day, I stumbled upon the Harrington Scholarship for Creative Writing, a prestigious award that not only offered full tuition at several universities, but also provided a substantial stipend for living expenses. It was designed for students who had demonstrated both talent and resilience in the face of challenges. When I read the description, my heart raced. This was it. This was the opportunity I had been waiting for, the ticket out of my house. The validation of everything I had poured into my words. The only problem was, I couldn't tell my family. If they knew, they would mock me. Worse, they might actively try to stop me. I could already hear my mother's voice. "Do you think you're smarter than us? Do you think you know better?" So I kept it a secret. I poured my entire soul into the application essay, writing about resilience, silence, and the hidden strength it takes to believe in yourself when no one else does. I sent it off with trembling hands and whispered a prayer into the night. While waiting for the results, I endured the same cycle of dismissal at home. College application season was in full swing, and Daniel had already secured an athletic scholarship. My mother was ecstatic, telling everyone at church, "My son is going to be a star." Lila, too, had been accepted early into a prestigious music program, even though she only practiced half-heartedly. My mother beamed, calling her my little prodigy. And me. Whenever relatives asked what I planned to do, my mother would chuckle and wave a hand. "Oh, Evelyn hasn't figured it out yet. She likes to write, but we've told her it's not realistic. We don't support that kind of distraction." Her words cut deeper than she realized. "We don't support you." That phrase would echo in my mind for months. The tension finally came to a head one evening at dinner. My family sat around the polished oak table, the smell of roasted chicken filling the air. Daniel was bragging about his latest game, and Lila was humming a tune she was working on. I stayed quiet, pushing peas around my plate until my mother turned to me. "So, Evelyn, what have you decided? Community college? Or are you just going to stay home for a while?" Daniel smirked. "She's probably waiting for a fairy godmother to publish her stories." Lila giggled. "Or maybe she's writing about us right now." A tragic tale of the forgotten middle child. The table erupted in laughter. Even my father cracked a smile. I clenched my fork so tightly my knuckles went white. My throat burned with unshed tears, but I forced myself to stay silent. They wouldn't see me break. Not this time. Inside, though, I made a promise. One day I will show you all. One day you'll regret every word. Weeks passed and life carried on with its usual sting. Then, one crisp March morning, I opened the mailbox and found a large envelope with the Harrington Foundation's seal. My hands shook as I tore it open right there on the porch. "Congratulations," the letter began. I read it once, then twice, then a third time, tears blurring the words. I had done it. I had won the scholarship. Not only full tuition, but also a $20,000 annual stipend. It felt unreal, like a dream I had been too afraid to believe in. Clutching the letter to my chest, I whispered to myself, "This is my way out." But little did I know the way the truth would come out would not only expose my family's cruelty, but also bring about a reckoning none of us could have imagined. The day that would change. Everything began like any other Saturday. Except there was a tension in the air I couldn't quite name. My mother had decided we were hosting a family dinner, a gathering of aunts, uncles, cousins, and family friends who all seemed to measure worth in the same narrow way she did. "Make sure you look nice," she told me that morning while smoothing out the tablecloth. "We don't want anyone thinking you've been wasting time." I wanted to laugh at the irony. For her, looking nice mattered more than what was inside. I almost wanted to say, "Don't worry, Mom. They already think I'm a disappointment. No dress can fix that." But I bit my tongue as usual. The letter from the Harrington Foundation still burned in my pocket like a secret flame. I hadn't told anyone. Not yet. I wasn't ready. Part of me wanted to guard it, to keep it safe until I was strong enough to face their disbelief. By late afternoon, the house was buzzing with chatter. My Aunt Linda swept in first, her perfume filling the room before she even spoke. She was the kind of woman who asked loaded questions, the kind where no answer could make you look good. "Oh, Evelyn," she cooed, air kissing me. "So what are your plans now that high school is almost over?" I opened my mouth, but my mother jumped in before I could answer. "She's still figuring it out," Mom said quickly, smiling tightly. "We've told her writing isn't realistic. But who knows? Maybe she'll find something stable soon." Aunt Linda clucked her tongue. "Well, not everyone is cut out for college, dear. Some people just take longer to find their path." Her words stung like acid, but I forced a polite smile. One by one, the relatives arrived. Daniel strutted around, shaking hands and bragging about his scholarship. Lila flitted about in her pastel dress, humming for anyone who would listen. And me. I hovered at the edges, invisible, until someone wanted to use me as the butt of a joke. We all sat around the long table, the chandelier casting warm light that felt suffocating. Plates clinked, wine glasses sparkled, and conversation flowed easily until it turned, as it always did, to achievements. Daniel's basketball scholarship was praised endlessly. To have such talent in the family. Uncle Mark boomed, clapping him on the back. "Your parents must be so proud." My mother glowed, practically preening. Then came Lila's turn. Her acceptance into the music program was met with equal admiration. "Such a gifted girl," Aunt Carol said, "like a little songbird. We'll all be buying tickets to your concert someday." Lila giggled and ducked her head modestly, though I could see the smug smile tugging at her lips. Then, inevitably, all eyes turned to me. "So, Evelyn," Uncle Mark asked, slicing his steak, "what about you? What are your plans after Graduation. I swallowed, my heart pounding. I wanted to tell them the truth. I wanted to shout, I have a full scholarship. I have something better than you ever imagined for me. But before I could speak, my mother gave a sharp laugh. Oh, Evelyn hasn't quite figured it out, she said. She spends most of her time writing in those little notebooks. But we've told her over and over, that's just playing pretend. We don't support that. The table erupted in chuckles. Daniel smirked. Yeah, maybe one day she'll publish a diary. Tales of a Couch Potato. Lila added with a sing-song tone, or maybe she'll just write stories about how much she hates us. The laughter swelled, bouncing off the walls until it felt like it was crushing me. I stared down at my plate, my throat burning. Don't cry. Don't let them see you cry. As the laughter died down, Aunt Linda leaned closer. Sweetheart, have you thought about trade school? Something practical? Writing is nice, but you need to be realistic. Something inside me snapped. I am realistic, I said quietly but firmly. Just because you don't understand my dream doesn't mean it isn't worth something. The table fell silent for a moment. Then Daniel burst out laughing. Oh, come on, Evie. Don't get all dramatic. Nobody's saying you're worthless, just that your dream is. Daniel, I hissed, my hands trembling under the table. What? I'm just saying what we're all thinking. He leaned back in his chair, smirking. My mother sighed, waving her hand. Don't be so sensitive, Evelyn. Honestly, you make everything harder than it needs to be. We're only trying to help you see reality. Reality? Their favorite word. Their weapon. I wanted to scream. My reality is bigger than this dining room. Bigger than your narrow expectations. But instead, I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood. Dinner dragged on, each bite tasting like ash in my mouth. When dessert was served, the conversation shifted again, this time to money. College expenses, tuition, financial aid. My stomach twisted. My mother dabbed her lips with a napkin. Thankfully, Daniel's scholarship covers most of his costs. And Leela's program isn't cheap, but we'll make it work. We support our children when their dreams are worth investing in. Her words were deliberate, a dagger aimed straight at me. We don't support Evelyn's. Javi, she added with a dismissive laugh. The entire table chuckled again. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. The humiliation was complete. In that moment, I felt like the ground had opened beneath me. My entire family, extended relatives included, had joined in the chorus of dismissal. I was the butt of the joke, the failure, the invisible child who dared to dream too loudly. Is this all I'll ever be to them? A punchline, a disappointment. But then I thought of the letter, the scholarship, the check with my name on it waiting upstairs in my drawer. A spark flickered inside me. They didn't know. Not yet, but they would. And when they did, their laughter would turn to silence. As the evening wound down, Daniel and Lila entertained the guests with a duet of Sorsim, tossing a basketball lightly in the air while she played a melody on the piano. Everyone clapped, everyone cheered. My mother beamed like a queen. I stood in the corner, half forgotten, half mocked. A cousin nudged me with a grin. Hey, Evelyn, maybe you can write about this night in your little stories. Call it the Family Star Show. More laughter. I smiled tightly, but inside I was trembling with rage. Laugh now. Mock me all you want. Tomorrow, everything changes. Because tomorrow, the Harrington Foundation's official announcement would go live. And the entire world, including my family, would know the truth. The morning after the family dinner, woke up with puffy eyes and a hollow ache in my chest. I had cried silently into my pillow long after the guests had left. Long after Daniel's laughter and Leela's humming had faded into the night. But when the first rays of sunlight streamed through my window, I remembered. The Harrington Foundation would post their official list of scholarship recipients today. I bolted upright, heart pounding. For weeks, I'd clung to the letter like a lifeline. Proof that I wasn't delusional. Proof that someone out there saw value in me. But there was a difference between a private letter and a public announcement. The world would know. My family would know. And something inside me whispered, this is the day everything changes. I grabbed my laptop, my hands trembling as I typed in the Foundation's website. My breath caught when I saw the headline, "Congratulations to the 2025 Harrington Scholars." I scrolled quickly, eyes scanning the names. There, Evelyn Carter, creative writing. Full scholarship plus living stipend for a moment. I just stared at the screen, unable to breathe. It was real. It was happening. I pressed a hand to my mouth, tears springing to my eyes. All the nights scribbling by flashlight. All the whispers of "you're wasting your time." All the humiliation it had led here. To validation. To victory. And then my stomach clenched. Because now the announcement was public. Anyone could see it, including my family. When I came downstairs, the kitchen was already alive with the clatter of dishes. My mother stood at the stove flipping pancakes. Daniel sat at the table, scrolling on his phone, while Lila sipped orange juice daintily. "Morning," I said cautiously. Nobody looked up. "Morning," my father mumbled from behind his newspaper. I slid into a chair, my heart hammering. Should I say something? Or should I wait until they found out on their own? Before I could decide, Daniel snorted. "Hey, Mom, look at this." He turned his phone around. My heart dropped. I could see the Harrington Foundation's website glowing on his screen. "There's some kid named Evelyn Carter on this scholarship list," he said, smirking. "Same name as Evie. Must be a mistake." My mother frowned, wiping her hands on a dish towel as she came over. She leaned down, squinting at the screen. Then her eyes widened. Her lips parted. She looked at me. "Evelyn," she said slowly, her voice sharp. "What is this?" All eyes were on me. My fork clinked against the plate as I set it down. "It's not a mistake," I said, my voice trembling but steady. "I applied months ago, and I won. Full scholarship. Tuition and a living stipend." The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush me. Daniel barked out a laugh. "You? Come on. That's not possible. You don't even—" "It's true," I cut in, louder this time. My voice shook, but the fire inside me was burning now. I worked for it. I wrote the essays. I submitted my work, and they chose me. Out of hundreds of applicants. Lila's glass clinked against the table as she set it down too hard. But you didn't even tell anyone." "That's sneaky." "Maybe I didn't tell anyone," I snapped, "because you all made it clear you don't believe in me. You've spent years mocking me, telling me I'm wasting my time. Why would I give you the chance to crush this too?" My mother's face had gone pale. She opened her mouth, then shut it, then finally whispered, "You. You hid this from us." "No," I said, standing now, my chair scraping the floor. "I protected it from you." The room erupted all at once. Daniel scoffed. "This is ridiculous. Some fluke, some pity award. Nobody actually respects writing." Lila wrung her hands. But what about me? My program is expensive. We need help with my tuition." My father lowered the newspaper at last, his brow furrowed. "Full scholarship, you said?" "Yes," I said, my voice steadier now. "Every cent, tuition, room, board, everything covered, plus $20,000 a year for expenses." The room went silent again. This time, there was no laughter. It didn't take long before the news spread beyond the walls of our kitchen. Within hours, relatives began texting, calling, and posting congratulations on Facebook. Aunt Linda, who had so smugly suggested trade school the night before, posted, "So proud of my niece Evelyn Carter for receiving the prestigious Harrington Scholarship. What an accomplishment." I read it with a bitter smile. Just last night she had all but called me a failure. And now she was claiming pride. My phone buzzed non-stop with messages from classmates and even teachers. Some were shocked, some genuinely thrilled. But the best part was the way the congratulations piled up publicly, where my family could see them. My mother scrolled through Facebook, her face tightening with each new post. "Why didn't you tell us?" she demanded again, her voice trembling with something between anger and disbelief. "Because you told me over and over that you don't support me," I said, my voice sharp as glass. "And now you want to act proud, like you believed in me all along." That evening, we attended church as usual. My mother had insisted we go, probably hoping to control the narrative before the gossip reached her. But she underestimated how fast news travels. The moment we walked through the doors, people swarmed me. "Congratulations, Evelyn. We heard about the scholarship. What an achievement. You must be so proud." Each word was like a dagger to my mother. She smiled stiffly, her jaw tight. While people congratulated me, the daughter she had mocked, dismissed, and publicly humiliated just the night before, even the pastor shook my hand warmly. "The Lord has blessed you with a gift, Evelyn. Cherish it." My mother's cheeks flushed crimson. For once, Daniel and Lila were the ones standing awkwardly in the background, overshadowed. When we got home, the storm hit. My mother slammed the front door, rounding on me. "How could you do this? How could you embarrass us like that?" "Embarrass you?" I shouted, my voice cracking. "I won a full scholarship. I achieved something you said was impossible. And now you're embarrassed. You made us look like fools." She hissed. "We told everyone you were wasting your time. And now they think we didn't believe in you." "Because you didn't," I said, my chest heaving. "You mocked me. You all did. And now the truth is out, and you can't stand it." For the first time in my life, I saw fear in my mother's eyes. Not fear of me, but fear of losing control. Daniel tried to step in, but his words fell flat. This doesn't mean anything. It's just writing. It's not real. It's more real than your basketball," I snapped. "Because when you get injured, Dan, you will what's left. My words will outlast all of this." Lila whispered, "You don't have to be so cruel, Evelyn." I turned to her, my voice steady. "Cruel, you laughed at me last night. You all did. And now you're upset because I dared to prove you wrong." That night, lying in bed, I replayed it all in my head, the laughter, the humiliation, the disbelief, and finally, the silence when the truth was undeniable. For the first time in years, I felt powerful. I had held on to my dream despite everything, and now the world validated me. Not them, not their approval. But the best part, watching their faces when the roles reversed. They had dismissed me. They had mocked me. They had said, "We don't support you." And yet, the scholarship check said otherwise. I always thought justice would come quietly, that maybe one day I'd simply leave, disappear into a new life. And the silence of my absence would be punishment enough for my family. But life had other plans. Justice came loudly, publicly, and with an audience my mother could never hide from. A week after the announcement, the Harrington Foundation held an award ceremony for its scholars. It wasn't just a small event. It was televised locally with news outlets covering the prestigious list of recipients. When I got the invitation, I knew immediately I wanted my family to be there. Not because they deserved it. No, I wanted them to see. To sit in the front row and choke on every word they'd ever used to belittle me. So I handed the invitation to my mother at dinner. "They want the whole family to attend," I said evenly. She blinked at it, her lips pressed thin. You want us there?" "Yes," I said. "You'll be in the program as family guests of the recipient. Everyone will know." For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then she forced a smile, brittle and false. "Of course, we'll be there. We wouldn't miss it." Her words dripped with hypocrisy. But I didn't care. Let her squirm. The night of the ceremony, the auditorium was buzzing with energy. Scholars in formal wear mingled with donors and board members. Cameras flashed, news anchors rehearsed their lines, and proud families posed for photos. I wore a simple navy dress, nothing flashy, but it felt like armor. As I looked in the mirror before leaving home, I whispered to myself, "This is the night. They'll never laugh at me again." When we arrived, the contrast was stark. Families beamed with pride, hugging their children, snapping endless photos. My mother, father, Daniel, and Lila trailed behind me stiffly, their forced smiles cracking under the weight of truth. I caught whispers around us. "That's Evelyn Carter. She won the creative writing scholarship. She must be incredibly talented." Each word was a balm on my scars. Each whisper a victory. When my name was called, my heart thundered in my chest. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer's voice rang out. Please welcome Evelyn Carter, recipient of the Harrington Foundation's full scholarship for creative writing. Applause roared through the auditorium. I walked across the stage, the spotlight blinding. My hands steady as I shook the director's hand and accepted the certificate. Then came the part I hadn't anticipated. The director leaned into the microphone and said, "Each of our scholars will share a few words tonight." The audience hushed, waiting. My stomach flipped. This was my chance. I stepped to the podium, the paper trembling in my hand. But I didn't need notes. My speech had been written in my heart for years. I want to thank the Harrington Foundation for believing in me. I began, my voice clear, steady. For years, I was told that writing was a waste of time, that my stories didn't matter, that my dreams weren't realistic. A murmur rippled through the audience. But I kept writing, late at night, in secret, because it was the only way I could breathe. And when I thought nobody in the world saw me, this scholarship did. It proved that my words, my voice, have value. I paused, my gaze sweeping the room, then landing deliberately on my family in the front row. I dedicate this to everyone who has ever been laughed at, dismissed, or told they weren't enough. You are enough. And your dreams are worth fighting for, Ivan, if no one supports you. Because sometimes the very thing they said would never amount to anything becomes the thing that changes your life. The audience erupted in applause. Some stood. Cameras flashed. And my family. They sat frozen, faces pale, forced to endure every word. After the ceremony, donors and professors approached me. One woman grasped my hand warmly. "Your speech was extraordinary, Evelyn. You have such strength." Another man said, "You'll do great things. We'll be watching your career closely." The compliments piled up, each one a stone building a wall between me and the people who had belittled me. Daniel muttered under his breath, "Unbelievable." Lila clung to Mom's arm, whispering frantically. And my mother. She smiled stiffly whenever someone looked at us. Okay. But her eyes darted like a trapped animal's. For once, she was the one humiliated. That night, back at home, the mask finally cracked. "How dare you humiliate us like that?" Mom hissed the moment the door closed. "Humiliate you," I repeated, my voice rising. "I told the truth. You didn't support me. You mocked me. And now everyone knows it. We were only trying to protect you from disappointment," she snapped. "No," I said sharply. "You were trying to control me, to make me fit your mold. But I don't fit, and I never will." Daniel sneered. "You think you're better than us now, don't you?" I turned to him, my eyes blazing. "No, I've always been better than the version of me you tried to force me to be. You're just mad because you can't laugh at me anymore." Lila's voice was small. "You don't have to be so mean, Evelyn." I whirled on her. "Mean. You sat there and giggled while they tore me down. You called my dream a hobby. You thought it was funny, and now you're uncomfortable because the joke isn't on me anymore." For once, my father spoke. His voice was quiet, but heavy. "She's right," he said. Everyone turned. My mother's eyes widened. "What?" "She's right," he repeated. "We didn't support her. We didn't believe in her. And yet, she proved us wrong." My throat tightened. It was the first time in my life I'd heard him take my side. My mother's face crumpled, her pride warring with the truth. "You've made your point," she said bitterly. "Enjoy your victory." In that moment, I realized something. I didn't need their approval anymore. Their opinions, their laughter, their cruelty no longer defined me. Justice wasn't about making them love me. Justice was about standing tall, making them face what they had done, and proving I could rise without them. And I had. That night, as I packed my things in preparation for moving into my dorm in a few months, I felt lighter than I ever had. They could sulk, they could rage, they could stew in their humiliation. But the world had seen me, heard me, valued me, and there was no going back. Weeks later, a local newspaper ran a feature on the scholarship winners. My face was printed alongside my words. "Small town girl proves everyone wrong," the headline read. Neighbors, teachers, even distant acquaintances congratulated me. Each message, each smile was another nail in the coffin of my family's narrative. My mother tried to spin it. We always knew Evelyn had potential, but the cracks showed. Everyone remembered her dismissive words. Everyone remembered the way she had laughed at me. And now her humiliation was complete. Because the truth was undeniable. She had said, "We don't support you." But the scholarship check said otherwise. They say revenge is sweet. But I learned something deeper. It's not the revenge itself that brings peace. It's the freedom that comes from no longer needing validation from the people who hurt you. After the scholarship announcement, the ceremony, and the headlines, the atmosphere in my house shifted like a storm that had finally broken. For years, I had been the family's scapegoat, the punchline, the disappointment. Suddenly, I was the one everyone else tiptoed around. The first thing I noticed was the silence. It wasn't the heavy, judgmental silence I'd grown up with, the silence that meant disapproval. No, this silence was different. It was uneasy, awkward, a silence filled with unsaid words, with regret my family couldn't bring themselves to admit. Daniel stopped mocking me at the dinner table. Instead of his usual smirks and comments, he avoided eye contact altogether. Lila no longer giggled at my expense. She spent more time in her room, practicing her music in hushed tones, as if afraid to draw attention. And my mother. Oh, my mother. Her laughter, once so quick when aimed at me, had all but disappeared. She busied herself with chores, church events, and pretending to be proud of me when people asked. But inside the house, she was quiet, almost haunted. Meanwhile, outside the walls of our home, the world treated me differently. Teachers stopped me in the hall to congratulate me. Neighbors waved, calling out, "We're proud of you, Evelyn." Even kids at school who had barely noticed me before suddenly wanted to talk. It was strange. Vindicating, yes, but strange. Because while the world finally saw me, my own family seemed to shrink back into the shadows. Part of me wanted to enjoy it fully, to bask in their discomfort. And I did for a while. Every smile from a teacher, every pat on the back from a neighbor was a reminder. See? I wasn't crazy. I wasn't worthless. But late at night, lying in bed, I would stare at the ceiling and wonder, why wasn't there silence enough? Why did I still ache for something more? One final family gathering before I left for college drove the truth home. We were at Aunt Linda's again, surrounded by casseroles and the smell of lemon-scented candles. Relatives congratulated me nonstop, showering me with praise. "I always knew you had something special," Aunt Linda gushed. I almost laughed in her face. Just months ago, she had suggested I try trade school because writing wasn't realistic. Now she wanted to rewrite history. As the evening went on, I noticed my mother sitting stiffly, her smile frozen, her hands clenched in her lap. Every compliment directed at me was another blow to her pride. Finally, one cousin asked, "So, Evelyn, what do you think helped you most? Your family's support?" The room went quiet. Everyone turned to me. I looked at my mother. Her eyes pleaded silently. She wanted me to lie, to say yes, to save her face. But I didn't. "No," I said firmly, "I didn't have support. Not at home. What helped me was believing in myself when no one else did. What helped me was knowing that my dreams mattered, even when others told me they didn't." The silence that followed was suffocating. My mother's face burned red, and I felt something inside me finally release. I didn't need her approval. I didn't need anyone's. I had spoken my truth out loud in front of everyone, and it was enough. The summer passed quickly, and soon it was time to leave for college. I packed my bags with care, each folded shirt and stack of books, a symbol of my independence. When the day came, my family loaded the car in silence. The drive was tense, filled with small talk that meant nothing. My mother tried to act cheerful, but her voice cracked around the edges. When we arrived at the dorms, Daniel gave me a half-hearted pat on the back. "Good luck, I guess." Lila hugged me stiffly, whispering, "I hope you don't forget us." And my mother. She didn't say much at all. "Just call when you get settled." There were no grand speeches, no apologies, no declarations of pride. just silence. And for the first time, that was okay. In college, I found a different kind of family. People who loved stories as much as I did. Professors who encouraged my voice instead of silencing it. Friends who stayed up late with me, reading drafts, laughing at my characters, celebrating my victories. It was like breathing fresh air after years of suffocating. And as I grew, as my writing blossomed, I realized something important. I didn't need to erase my past. I didn't need to pretend the pain hadn't happened. Because it was the pain, the dismissals, the laughter, the constant, "we don't support you," that had shaped me. It had given me resilience, fire, determination. Without their cruelty, maybe I wouldn't have fought so hard. Maybe I wouldn't have written with such desperation, such hunger. Maybe I wouldn't have won at all. In a twisted way, their rejection had been my fuel. Looking back now, I see the story clearly. I was the girl nobody believed in. The daughter who was mocked at family dinners. The one told over and over that her dreams weren't real. And yet I became the girl who proved them wrong. The girl whose words earned her a place in the world. Do I forgive them? Not entirely. Some wounds don't heal just because success comes. But I don't carry the bitterness like I once did. Because carrying it would mean they still had power over me. And they don't. Not anymore. If I could speak to the version of myself who sat at that dinner table, cheeks burning as everyone laughed, I would tell her this: don't give up. Don't believe their lies. The world is bigger than their narrow vision, and your voice matters. One day, you'll see it for yourself. And if I could speak to anyone listening now who feels like the forgotten child, the joke, the disappointment, I'd say your dream is valid. Even if your family laughs. Even if they tell you it's foolish. Even if they say they don't support you. Their words don't define your worth. Keep going. Because one day you'll prove them wrong, and when you do, the victory will be sweeter than you can imagine. When I walked across that stage at the Harrington ceremony, it wasn't just about me. It was about every moment I'd been silenced. Every time I'd been laughed at. Every time my mother had said, "We don't support you." That night, justice wasn't just in the scholarship check. It was in reclaiming my voice. And as I write this now, years later, I smile. Because in the end, the story wasn't about their cruelty. It was about my resilience. And the truth is simple. They said, "We don't support you." But the scholarship check said otherwise. And that's how I learned that sometimes. The people who doubt you the most give you the fire to prove them wrong. What about you? Have you ever been told your dream wasn't worth it and proved them wrong anyway? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to read it. If this story touched you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next one. And remember, when they say you can't let your success be the answer,